Welcome, everyone. We're back at our interviews, and today we have a couple of our missionaries, maybe faces that you don't know, but our two brothers with us today are Mark VanEssendelft and James Folkerts. Both are serving in Karamoja, Uganda. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us, Rich.
Yeah, well, maybe we can just begin. James, if you could just describe a little bit about your work, maybe first of all, where you're located and the kind of work that you're involved with there.
Yeah, Karamoja, we're in eastern Uganda, close to the border of Kenya. We're working with a tribe called the Karamojong, and we're working with the Orthodox Presbyterian Church. They've been working here for about 20 years. And our mission here is we're basically trying to plant a church in Karamoja. And we also have a clinic that is helping many people. The clinic's been here for many years as well. We have around 30 staff there. We're helping people every day. So yeah, we're trying to do evangelism in the community and mentor people as they come our way, and doing church planting, all of that all together. So,
James, how long have you been on the field with your family now?
We arrived at the end of November in 2019. So my wife and I and our 7 children came here, and we arrived a few months before COVID hit. So we're thankful we got in under the wire.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I know you guys have had a lot of issues and lockdowns like everyone else has. How are things now, James? Have things lightened up a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, there's still a government order for masks, but no one is really abiding by that. Other than that, you come here and life is normal. You just need a COVID test to fly out of the country. And there's a few more hand washing stations in different places, which is kind of an added bonus. I think we're actually healthier because of that. But our church was closed how long? Half a year?
Yeah,
something like that.
4 or 5 months.
Yeah, so we had absolutely no corporate worship in Nakalai Church, and we would just kind of quietly meet under trees or meet in people's homes. So yeah, it was very challenging. So, but we're out of that now. We've been worshiping together for a number of months, so it's good.
James, your focus is the pastoral side. Mark, yours is the diaconal side. Maybe you could just, Mark, explain kind of the difference in what your focus is.
Right. So, establishing a church, we're dealing with people an animistic culture, very different. They're not historically Christian people, and so you're starting from scratch with people. And so we're just getting, after 20 years, we're just getting a group in the church now together, meeting as a mercy committee, trying to do diaconal work as a local church. And just this last year, we've established that, and we're having the people, a group of about 6 members, making decisions with their own funds on how to help the everyone's poor here, but there's people that are really poor, that are starving, that are totally neglected. And so we're building some houses and doing stuff like that. And so that's been encouraging, the progress of establishing that committee after a number of years of having the mission do all the diaconal decisions. Yeah. So I guess another thing that we're doing too is, you want to establish a church that's self-sufficient. And this is a really, really poor, it's the poorest region in Uganda and the poorest district in this region that we're in. And so one of the things we're doing is doing a farm project, and we're trying to find some different ways that people can either get in their own business or work to support the local church, where they can be in the future self-supporting, and where they don't depend on the mission or the white people's money or whatever. So.
I know that's always a challenge, whatever foreign field we're on.
Yeah.
How has it been training leaders? I know that's a long process. And I know a couple of years ago you were talking about the possibility of some elders and deacons. Has that happened? Is that something that's ongoing?
Yeah, I'm still a rookie here. It's been a year and a half. I don't know, maybe you always feel a rookie here, but there are hopeful prospects. But there's also so many discouragements where you've been working with people, the mission has been working with people for a decade, and you're not getting anything out of it. And those things are heartbreaking. So there's a lot of heartbreaking stories here where you hope that this person would become an elder and he enters into a polygamous marriage or just leaves the area or just quits coming to church. And so, yeah, the Lord builds the church. And I think of Paul, he says one guy planted, another one watered, and God gave the increase. And, we can have all the right programs, but it's really God who builds, and we have to be just patient with God's plans and trust him and just try to be faithful. And that's easier said than done,
Yeah.
So these young men need prayer. It's a pretty hopeful prospect of becoming an elder that we're sending to school right now. And they need prayer to not fall into the cultural sins of polygamy is really big here. Alcoholism is rampant. And those two sins really trap a lot of guys that you're hopeful with. And so they need prayer. We need to pray for them, and we need our people praying that God would give them the strength to continue on. Yeah.
Yeah, it's certainly a generational thing. Just being willing to invest long term, and I know you're living in such a remote area as well, and I know that the customs and traditions run very, very deep.
There's a lot of pressure from the culture. We just had couple weeks ago, we had a young couple, both the boy and the girl we've both been working with for several years, and they decided to get married, and the family beat both of them for not bringing enough cows for dowry, and severely beat them. And so we
can't imagine.
Yeah, I mean the things that these people go through that want to follow Christ are we can't even relate with it.
Yeah, I know the African culture too, coming from the West is so different, and it takes a long time to begin to understand it. Have both of you been involved in language training, or are you learning? Do you have tutors, and are you working with the Karamojan language somewhat? Is that a goal, or is the goal more to work through translators?
The goal for me is to learn the language in some form, but it's extremely challenging having so many things going on. The first few months we were here, we had some very intense language, and as I got to finding good language people it's brutal. Trying to find good people, and then they have to show up. My wife Esther's doing quite well in her language, but her language teacher regularly does no shows, so it's really challenging just to find that time to really focus and keep building. So that's something you can even pray for us, that we can keep working on that in a sustainable way. We have good language. The thing in Uganda here, we're blessed by English being one of the national languages. So we've been blessed with good language translators, which gets us very far. So right now I'm the only pastor on the mission, and yeah, there's no way I can dedicate 3-4 hours a day to language. It's just impossible. So we're working beyond full time here. So it's, it would have been nice to have a couple of years or a year where you could just focus on language, but I haven't had that. So we're jumping in and we're going at it, and we're just trying to chip away at it day by day. So it's coming. So there's times when you hear someone talk and you think, hey, I think I know what they're talking about. And then, they're surprised that It's like, So that's good. It's slowly coming, but it's like climbing a very big mountain.
And complex language like Karamojan is just so much more difficult than Spanish or a regular studied language that has textbooks and huge challenge. Your work, James, I know it's multifaceted. Could you just describe it? You've mentioned that you're in the local church there. What else is involved?
Well, we have had over the last year, like a discipleship mentorship team of about a dozen guys that we've been training in evangelism and teaching them how to craft messages, how to craft sermons. So every week we'd work on crafting a sermon together, and it was it went back and forth where they would help me understand the culture and maybe how to bring application into a sermon in a culturally relevant way. But I could also teach hermeneutics and homiletics, all of that all together. So we've been doing that every week. Some of these boys now are back in school because school with COVID has been off and on, and some classes are starting and some aren't starting. So, but that has been a really neat thing. And then they've been kind of my guides into the villages to help with meeting people, greeting people, getting to know people. So I'm really thankful for those young men. Some of them are just, between 17 and 24 years old. So they're young men who it's very challenging for them to stand for Christ, go into a village and either, give a Bible lesson or teach a Bible story or be my translator. And all the old mzes, the old men, are all around listening to that. And, what are they thinking about these young boys? So it takes a lot of courage to do that. And I'm really proud of them for their willingness to do that. And we see some really rising up, and I'm hoping maybe, Lord willing, there might be a few of them that could possibly go on to further Bible studies, or maybe even some of them to seminary or something, but we'll see what the Lord provides. So that's one thing. There's preaching on Sundays throughout this whole fall, from September up till January, February. We've been going into the villages in a systematic way, trying to teach the shorter catechism for children in Karamojong. So that has been something that we've been working on, and trying to get the children to memorize the catechism because they're not in school right now with COVID. They're all running around in the villages with nothing to do. So it's been a good opportunity just to have the children get to know us and have some opportunities for sharing. That's been really good. We've been trying to do 2 other church plants, one in 2 different towns besides what we're doing right now in our local village of Nakale. We've had some success with one, and the other one, I think we're going to stop. In the last 3-4 weeks, no one has showed up. But it may be because it's planting season right now, but we might have to make some adjustments. So we just pray for the Lord's wisdom, when to stop something, when to start something. Those are all things that we're praying for wisdom about.
How many villages are in the area that you're actually reaching?
Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's about 8 main villages with other smaller communities.
Okay.
They're almost, if you're a Canadian, you came here, you'd think they're almost like campgrounds, you know, like these people set up some huts and they all gather together close to a well, a borehole, and then a little bit further, there's another community, but they keep shifting. They move every, this year there's a whole community that's leaving that one area and they're moving a little bit further away where they're higher ground, because last year we had too much rain and land flooded out. So yeah, there's probably at least a dozen or so communities that we're reaching in some way. The other beautiful thing is the clinic. Our clinic serves, I don't know how many people a day. When it's busy, I think upwards of over 100. So, and we have, those people come from far and wide to come to those villages, to come to the clinic, and they hear gospel preaching every day there, and they're able to receive some biblical counseling if they want it. And so that has a tremendous impact, I think, on opening up avenues for ministry. So we have 2 other areas that we've been going to further away, and one is up on a mountain to a more remote area. And we've gone up there maybe 6 times now or more. It's basically hike up a mountain for 8 hours, take your tent with you, and then sleep there for 2-3 nights and cover this whole mountain plateau. So we went up there. I went up there personally, it was a few months ago now, and it was just tremendous. We were very well received. What struck me was people didn't beg. Right where we are here, it's just constant begging there. No one was begging, and a few people asked me for a Bible. I'm like, that's not begging, but and they gave me food to eat, and that's something here down in our area. We don't have that. So yeah, it's interesting to me because it just teaches me, like, what we experience here with life around the mission isn't all of what Karamoja is. And so for me, I think a lot of the people who've been living around the mission for the last 20 years in some ways have become rice Christians, or they receive things off the mission, and but is there a real living faith there? Or are they just living off us? It reminds me, like in Canada, I pastored in British Columbia, and we had a lot of bears around our house, and we were always told, don't feed the bears. And when you do, you get a problem bear. And what we have here is we have a lot of that kind of thing where the bears have been fed. And now the question is, how do you do ministry with these people? It's like a whole added layer of problems that you have to now try to work through. And that's, frankly, that's really, really exhausting. And our team, even these young men who are going out, they love to go out further. Like, they love to go out, if you can go out an hour past this place, it's a somewhat of a different mentality of how they have received. And they're really excited about that. So those are some things we're just observing, and we're wondering, like, how do the group up on the mountain, they'd love to have us come up there every week, but the rainy season's here and that mountain passes. It's a dangerous thing to go up in dry season, let alone in rainy season. It's going to be slippery as ever. So how do you go up there? I have my own family. I can't just go up there all the time easy. And it's so yeah, we're also just aware of our own limitations, our physical limitations, just everything. We can't do everything. So yeah, there's opportunities, but you can't do it all. And you just pray that God can work through you and the limitations of the mission and the team, and hopefully we can do things with wisdom. So yeah, you can pray for us for that.
That's really helpful, James. Kind of gives us an idea of yeah, the broadness of the work there.
Yeah.
Just switching gears, your families, Mark, maybe you could just tell us how you guys have adapted. You've been there a little bit longer. Just the family side of it. I know a lot of people would love to hear that.
Yeah. So, we have 9 children, and 8 are here in Uganda with us. And yeah, it's difficult having a large family, but especially in a very remote area. Some of the difficulties have been with our older children, not having friends that they can relate to. They have some Karamazong kids that they play with and so forth, but some of the difficulties have been just with the older kids and knowing how to when they go through puberty and through a lot of questioning and things, it's an added layer of struggle parenting with teenagers on the field in a remote area with a very small. We're very thankful for the Folkerts family because they brought a bunch of kids with them, but so they have a lot of friends, the younger ones do, and but it's been good in one way. Some of the things we've done as a family, we've been able to take a trip to Kenya, and that was an awesome trip that we would never be able to do if we were living in America. Some of the things we've done as a family and ministry, just my wife is able to have a memory ministry where she does memory verses. Kids learn memory verses, and they can get a pencil or a pad of paper or soap. 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 They're very poor. They can't afford soap, so they can do memory verses. Some of these kids are very amazing that can do. We had one guy do over 100 verses in 1 week, memorize. Just amazing memory. So it puts us to shame. But things like that we've been able to do as a family, and just for your kids to see the world as it really is, not as the facade you often feel in North America, of everything's going to be great all the time. Well, life isn't great for everybody or every Christian. And I think, the lessons that my kids have learned here will go on in life and will have a different perspective than a lot of other kids. And that I'm thankful for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
James, you too, you similar.
Yeah, our family, 7 kids. Our oldest is 13, turning 14 soon. My wife is homeschooling all those kids every day, so that's a full-time mission for her, and they're doing well at it. But prior to coming here, we hadn't homeschooled, so it's a big learning curve to switch to that for mom and for all the kids and for dad. But by God's grace, we're doing well, but it has been pretty stressful too. And yeah, it's a challenge. Like, living here, like I said, it's like living on a campground, and people can just walk into your campsite and beg and ask, and you're trying to teach school, and you have interruption after interruption, and you have to learn how to get boundaries, how to fight for them with grace, but also to lay down some rules. And I've had guys at my door at 7 a.m. begging, calling to me in the house, and it's like, please get off my property and go home. You've survived for 30 years without me being here, and now that I'm here, I am not your savior. So those are, you have to learn to have some spine too, to stand up to people. And maybe in our culture, we're not, we come from, maybe we're not used to that so much, but you have to in order to survive. So yeah, we're learning some of those things. Our kids are doing well. They're enjoying it here. We have dogs that have produced puppies, too many puppies. Anyone want a puppy? We got one.
His dog.
Yeah, my dog impregnated his dog, and now he wants me to pay dowry for his dog. I'm telling you.
Ship them to North America.
Yeah.
In North America, they're selling for big money down here. So
Yeah, we can't quite get the money here.
So yeah, no, we're doing well. Our family is enjoying it here for the most part. We miss our family in Canada. But we live here in totally different circumstances. So yeah, it's okay. We're learning to do without so many things that we used to think that were necessary, and now we're okay with it. So it's that's really neat. So
well, we'll continue to pray for you guys. I know there's lots to pray for. Is there anything specific? You've mentioned a few things during this time. Is there anything specific, one thing each of you would like to mention that the churches can specifically pray for?
for me, pray for leadership in this church. Pray that God would raise up Karamojong leaders in the church, and who want to stand not just with a mission, but stand for Christ's church in Karamoja. We need that.
Good, great.
I would echo that. Just there's been a long, hard road. It's kind of like it would probably be equated to in North America to go into an inner city drug-infested neighborhood and trying to establish a church. And that's kind of what we're dealing with. We've been here for 20 years and we still don't have elders or deacons. And so that's one of the things that we really have a burden for, is getting the local church established and doing it in such a way that the local people are stepping up to their responsibility without being pulled by us. And so that's pray for the local church to be established, and but also for our families to preserve us. James has been blessed. He hasn't been sick very much here. I've just been over a bout of malaria. I've had malaria probably 15 times since I've been here. And so sickness is often brings you down and gets you discouraged. And so you can just pray for health and strength, and for our families, for God to preserve us.
You can pray for our wives, because they're in the background and they are bearing many of the burdens. And they're away from their parents, and there's a lot of sacrifice that goes on in their lives. So pray for them.
Yeah, all your props are taken away, right? In a lot of ways, the props that we're having at home, suddenly they're gone. I know, it's a whole new world. But we will pray for you guys. Continue to pray for you, and for those of you who are watching this, they're going to have a write-up for the Trumpet next month, May 1st. So we look forward to hearing from you guys in a written word as well. But thanks so much for being on, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
All right.
Take care.
Yeah.